Kinky fuckers of YouTube, welcome to a full-length video talking finally about some in-depth topics. Now, what I want to do with these is give you an opportunity to get a little bit more information straight off the cuff. No edits here, so if I fumble or say anything a little weird, let me know. But specifically focus on topics with a little more length and depth, than you would get on a 60-second TikTok video, but also a little more direction than what we would typically get through the YouTube and Twitch lives. But I'm going to sit here, I'm going to have a direct conversation with you. Please let me know in the comments if you like this format, if you'd like something a little more posh, a little more fancy. We'll throw some logos on it, it'll be great. But I figure this way I can shoot with you straight, have a conversation. And also, please do comment if you have topics you'd like us to cover while we get into this. Now, all that being said, I kind of have two specific goals tonight. One's going to be a little quick to go over a little bit of DDlg commentary, just to mention a few things, give you guys a little bit of education. But then I want to go deeper into a recent group that I've discovered that I think quite possibly might be the most toxic fucking thing I've seen in some time, and it relates to a couple different issues. One, the overall negative imagery and idealism towards kink and poly and etc. that myself and my partners try to consistently fight. Part of the reason why we do this education, this advocacy, this very public nature of what we do is, if nothing else, to normalize it, because it needs to be normalized and accepted. And there's a group that's actually trying to do quite the opposite. And I don't mean a group targeted at us specifically. I mean a group targeted against the entire idea of kink. I mean, it's got to be the most Karen organization I have literally ever come across in my life. And it's not just the organizational people, but it's the people that are now touting this organization as this great educational resource and everything else. And it's, frankly, it's disturbing. So before we get into that, couple quick housekeeping things. Obviously, always please do like, comment, subscribe, hit that little notification button so you know when we do new videos. Please do share us with your friends. Also, if you want to find out wherever else we are and all the other content we produce, naughty and not naughty, it's stlbells.com/link. stlbells.com/link has all of our good stuff on it. So, let me light this fantastic little cigarette up here, because I'm a super classy guy and don't see anything fucking wrong with smoking while I'm talking to you. So I'm going to talk to you straight. So, the DDlg one is pretty simple. We will do a video in the future with some of our partners and some other people getting more in depth into DDlg and what the appeal is to them. And I've got some notes I want to make on it too. But because this is specifically dealing with this idea of a lack of acceptance and understanding of kink, I want to drive home a specific point that needs to be repeated again and again and again and again and again. DDlg, the all-encompassing term of DDlg, which includes a lot, okay? DDlg includes littles and middles and daddies and mommies and caregivers. Technically, you can put age regression into that overall scope if you want to. But bear in mind, there's a huge difference between age play and those types of things versus age regression, where age regression is more of typically a therapeutic sense. But regardless, what I want to get to, the meat of this, is regardless of where you fall in that spectrum, in that world, DDlg has nothing to do with pedophilia. Zero. I'm going to say it again. DDlg has zero to do with pedophilia. There's nothing. There's no crossover there. Now, I can't speak to the fact of that if there would be perverted, pedophilic, fucking jackass people out there that would corrupt that into some fetish for them. But I want to specify that pedophilia is not a kink. Pedophilia is not a fetish. There's no group, LGBTQ or kink-wise, that goes, we want to add them into our mix. That's not fucking happening, by the way. That's the big argument from, the very uneducated Bible-thumping groups, is that now the LGBTQ people want to add P in there for pedophilia, which is not true. I'm sure pedophiles would love that. But there's not a movement to do that. And also, like Antifa, as much as, we love the alphabet mafia term, there is actually not an alphabet mafia, okay? There's not, Don Corleone sitting there at the top of the alphabet mafia going, we're going to make the pedophiles an offer they can't refuse. We're going to bring them into the fold, and leave the it's not like that, okay? There's no one organization. There's no one centralized group that says, we're going to bring these. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. That's QAnon conspiracy nonsense, okay? And whereas I understand that some people might not understand all that goes into DDlg, and again, we want to do a lengthier video on that, it's not pedophilic in nature. I myself identify as a daddy. It's one of my kinks. I would never touch a child in my life in that way. I probably wouldn't touch it. Yeetus the fetus, no. And frankly, I would be the first one to line up in a punching contest to punch a pedophile in the face. So there's so much more to it than, and that's the other thing too, is it's not inherently sexual. So to say that it's all pedophiles, it's making it inherently sexual. Some people that engage in DDlg have sexual aspects to it. Some don't. Some like it for care. Some like it for Africa. There's a lot of depth there. Okay. So we need to, first of all, just for the sake of this video, eliminate that very misinformed notion that it has anything to do with pedophilia. And the reason why I'm including that into this video is because the lengthier topic and the lengthier point of this video is now dealing with this group that I've come across called We Can't Consent to This. They're out of the UK. I have reached out to this group through every social media platform I can find them on, offering them a chance to come on the podcast to speak, because obviously marketing materials only go so far to explain a true mission, and people that are speaking for them and saying, oh, check this out, might not be giving the whole spectrum. So I want to give them a fair chance to come on the podcast and discuss their mission and their ideology and their thought process on some of what they're saying. And hopefully then, if I'm even remotely right about what I'm about to say in this video, make sure that they understand the weight of what they're saying and what it also means, and how it can be very, very easily misconstrued and actually have the opposite effect of what they're trying to do. Because from what I'm going off of, and this is Alice and I spending, a couple hours going through their social media and their posts and everything else, it's toxic and uninformed as fuck. And again, if they see this, please, guys, come on and have a conversation with me. You'll get an audience of 15,000 on Twitch. You'll get a much, and TikTok, it'll be a much larger one if we promote it. Larger than the following you have right now, but I'm willing to give you a platform to speak about it. So here's the general concept of what they're saying, is that they want to stop, specifically their phrasing is they want to stop normalizing kink. They want to stop normalizing rough sex, BDSM, etc. And that's their whole thing, is you can't consent to that. They're basically saying that they want to stop what they're claiming is consenting to violence. Now, we're going to unpack this, okay? And here's their big thing, is that apparently in the UK, they're trying, their big movement is to remove the rough sex defense, quote unquote, rough sex defense, from murder trials and I think rape trials. Now, where this gets frustrating is that they're actually diminishing the value of consent. Inherently, they're saying that you can't consent to it. And they're saying it's an anti-misogynistic group, but all of their phrasing and verbiage is very much that it's male dominant, female submissive, and that females don't have the power to consent to kink. Now, let me tell you, that is the most anti-feminist fucking ideal that I have ever heard in my life. That is the most backwards anti-misogynistic concept I have come across, and I have seen some fucking doozies in my day. But to literally have your entire platform based on the concept that women cannot consent to something, it's like mentally challenged to me. I don't get their logic. Because even before we unpack this, they're talking about murder and they're talking about rape and they're trying to remove this defense. Well, rape is the absence of consent. Right? And additionally, you can't consent to murder. I mean, even in the case of, Kevorkian back in the day, when he was doing assisted suicides for terminal patients, he was being charged and people were being charged for assisting in suicide, saying basically you can't consent to murder. So to use attacking consensual kink as a way of your defense, you're literally making the argument for the other side. You're basically giving them credence to say that, well, the rough sex defense is valid because, you guys are trying to stop people from showing this. So obviously, that attorney can go, well, my client saw, God forbid, I hope this never happens, but like, my client saw Beast choking Alice and he said it was okay. Right? And we talk about safety and education and consent, but you're literally giving them credence to that argument. And it's as flawed and backwards as saying that violent video games cause murder or that porn causes rape. Okay? It's this broad brush that everybody seems to want to paint things with nowadays, and unfortunately you can't. And that's the problem with so many social justice missions that we now, as a society, tackle, is that we get so caught up in the hoopla of the mission that we don't sometimes stop and think that, hey, you know what? Maybe this doesn't fit. Maybe this doesn't qualify. Maybe this particular instance is not a good example. And what I think some people, especially millennial, and here's the thing, I'm a left wing, okay? I'm far left wing. I'm liberal. I am all down for BLM and everything else. But we have to stop painting things with this broad brush. You can't say all cops are bastards because they're not. You can't say all men are pigs because they're not. Right? I'm actually the first one that says typically if you're a fucking douchebag, you're not a man, you're a male. You have a penis, but you've not earned the status of man because you've not matured enough to earn that respect. But if we as a society paint everything with this broad brush, then one of two things happens. One, the argument, the movement, the idea loses all its credibility because those from the outside go, well, every time something happens, they just say it's this. Or you gain so much momentum behind it that then you get a bunch of collateral damage swept up in the interim too. Neither of which is a good thing. Neither of which speaks to progress or growth or actual change. You can't have a society based on fear, and doing things that way is no better than lying about a caravan from Mexico or about a border. It's all the same shit. Different side of the thing. It's a different side of the argument, but it's the same ideology, and the ideology is dangerous. So the whole thing with we can't consent to this is basically, you know, they've got a few points that are just, oh God, they're downright scary, man. Like, you know, they have shirts that say vanilla on it, like a badge of honor, vanilla. And then they make fun of people who use vanilla as a derogatory term. So that's problem one. Problem two is them specifically saying that women cannot consent to kink, which is anti-feminist, inherently actually misogynistic, thinking that only men are dominant. And it's just fucking closed-minded and uninformed. And they've got examples on there, you know, some woman saying that a partner she was dating asked if he could slap her and spit in her mouth. Well, guess what? I slap Alice around, she likes it. I spit in Alice's mouth, she likes it. But it's consensual. There's nothing wrong with calling your partner a whore if they enjoy it. Now, mind you, if you're just an asshole that calls every woman a whore, well, guess what? You're not a dom then. That's not kink, that's harassment, that's abuse. That's the difference. They're saying that all kink is inherently violent, but it's not. And here's the scary thing about it is that, and again, I'm going to give them the opportunity to come on the podcast, but like I have already dealt with personally some people that have commented on our videos recently that have used this organization as an example of education. And they commented on one of our choking videos and said that we were being champions for rape, that I was being a rape apologist and a misogynist, and I should just admit that I hate women. Ooh. Do you know how fucked that logic is? Seriously. So let me make it abundantly clear.
Last I checked, he loves women.
I do, especially this woman. I mean, I don't love all women. Some women, Karen, you can go fuck off. I don't love them. I love you, though.
Do you want your dinner now?
Not right now. In a minute. And here's the thing is, the funny thing is I know some of you are going to want to have this tendency to go to their page or pages and comment on it and, you know, try to set them straight, which I'm all for. The problem is, of course, the way algorithms work, guess what? You do that, they get more views. And some of this logic that these people are imploring is a complete lack of logic, complete lack of common sense, and so therefore you might not win that argument. But it's worth a shot. So let me say it abundantly clear, and again, I hope they do come on the podcast. Kink has nothing to do with violence. Kink has nothing to do with violence. Kink has nothing to do with abuse. Kink has nothing to do with rape. Period. People may use that as a defense, is what this group is claiming, but then you need to set it straight and say that, no, that's not consensual kink. Rape play, consensual non-consent, is not rape because you have worked out the terms of that play with your partner beforehand. Hence why it's called consensual non-consent. You've agreed to that. In the same token, it's not violence because violence is one-sided. If your partner likes being choked, that's not a violent act. If you choke a random person that doesn't consent to it, that is a violent act. There's a very big fucking difference, okay? I could go on about this for hours.
But don't.
But I won't. The fact of the matter is that we need to separate it. And I want you guys to understand this is why we are so vocal and why we are so open with kink and normalizing it. And here's the thing, God forbid, as terrible as 50 Shades of Grey is, as terrible as 365 is, and they're terrible representations of kink. If they've done one thing, they've opened a broader set of eyes to this lifestyle. And I'll at least give them that. Now, still that needs to be corrected. But again, kink needs to be normalized. Polyamory should be normalized. There's nothing wrong with it. And we have to stop letting it be a plot point where, every SVU and Criminal Minds episode and everything is kink or a sex worker or poly or swingers or some just, like the worst side of it, you be careful. No. Because then you're not in kink, you are perverting something for abuse. And I want you guys to understand that. I want us all as a group, for all of these movements, to understand we've got to stop using this broad brush. That is the word, that is the phrase, that is the idea of the day, is that we have to fucking stop painting things with such a broad brush. Take every instance of anything that offends us at face value. I'm all down for social justice, man. I'm all down for crushing white supremacy. I am all down for crushing racism. I am all down for feminism if it's the right wave of feminism where women have the right to choose, not this, again, the broad wave. I think it's the third one or the first one where it's all about all men suck. No. That's not okay. I'm all for Black Lives Matter, but I'm not for all cops are bastards. Not every instance that a cop uses the gun is a bad one. Okay? And going back to what the topics that I know about, which is kink and polyamory, okay? You have to understand that arguments like this put our healthy relationships in jeopardy. One of the commenters went through and tried to say that as people were defending the post and telling her to just scroll, she said, well, asking me to just scroll by that is like asking a gay person to scroll past homophobia. No, it's not. That's like calling somebody a midget to the N-word. Because we will say it, not to use a joke from a comedian, but it's not on the same level. The LGBTQ community has dealt with not being able to get married, has dealt with bullying, harassment, and in some cases, murder. And you're trying to compare your plight of being offended by my kink to that. That's not okay. And those type of arguments not only endanger all of us, but they then lend credence and power to the right. Okay, guys, we want to change the world, right? We want to make it progressive. We want to help. We want to open eyes and hearts and minds and change this world. Well, then we have to fight the right fight. We have to fight the right battle. And that means going after injustice when we see it, but not making everything injustice. Because the people that don't believe, you're not going to change their mind if they think that you're just offended by everything. If everything is misogynistic. Okay? DDlg is not pedophilia. Kink is not rape. Kink is not violence. Not everything is bad. Not all men are bad. I welcome your comments. I do hope to have the group on there. Again, stay tuned for the podcast tomorrow and every Wednesday and Friday. Please do, again, comment, like, share this video, and give us topics that you would love us to go into, and we will get all up in there. Stay kinky. Stay awesome. Kinky fuckers, I love you. Beast, a.k.a. the Kinky Gnome, out.